Hey, I'm going to teach you how to make basil tea. And we're going to talk about how easy it is to grow herbs and the fact that I got to pick a slicer tomato today. It's really exciting for me because I think it's only my fourth one I've eaten from my garden this year because of the deer, but we'll get into that. Right now my water is boiling and pretty soon it's going to evaporate, so I need to get going on this. What you're going to need is something to put your basil leaves in. The variety of basil I'm using today is blue spice basil, and it smells amazing and it tastes amazing. I've made this tea even when my basil is in the middle of flowering and it still tastes amazing. If you didn't know, basil, when it goes to seed, the taste becomes very bitter, but with this tea that doesn't seem to matter. Right now my basil is not flowering and it tastes very nice and it smells amazing. So anyways, you're gonna need fresh basil for this. You can't use like dried basil leaves, or I don't think. Maybe you could. I've never tried. You probably could, but I'm using fresh basil, so you could get that either from the store if you're not growing it, or from your garden if you're growing it. And if you're not growing it, it's actually one of the easiest plants you can grow. And if it dies, no biggie. It's like $2 and you tried, right? But I think it's one of the easiest herbs certainly to grow. And I think out of a lot of the plants that I've grown, it's like the easiest, and it tastes and smells amazing and looks amazing. It's beautiful. So I'm gonna get the hot water and we'll start this. Okay, hot water. I made the rookie mistake earlier of not using a what is the word? Is the heating pad or oven mitt? I didn't use an oven pad earlier to grab my very hot kettle, and I slightly burned my hand. So I remembered this time because these things get hot. So what I want to do before I pour this in, actually, I'm going to add raspberries to my tea, but I made a mistake earlier of just adding the raspberries straight to my drink, and then I have had a very textured drink, which is not tasty. So what I'm actually going to do is get a strainer, put the raspberries in that, and then pour the hot water over it. First, we're going to want to put our basil in our pitcher. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not real organized, as you can see. I should have thought this through better and like had everything laid out. I kind of did. I have my pitcher out, and I even washed my basil before the video. In one of the videos, this is like my third time recording this. In one of the videos, I was washing the basil and everything, and it was just a long video, and it was bad. And when I have a long video, I talk a lot, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna tell you how to make this though, because this isn't a rant video. But it could turn into that because it's me and my mind is all over the place all the time. What am I getting? Raspberries. Haha. And a strainer. Gotta get a strainer. Ha. That's like, I remember two things at the same time. I feel like that's a big deal. You know those little sound effects people can put in their videos? I can't, because I don't really know how to edit. But you know where they're like, yay! And it's just a bunch of kids? Imagine that was right there. I'm very scatterbrained. Very much so. Okay, so, I mean, this is probably, I'm really stuffing it in my hand, but this is about 2 handfuls of basil. I am literally just putting it in here. I didn't even take the leaves off the stems. Like, it's the stems and the leaves in all their glory, and I'm smushing it down. I don't know if there's any science to this as to it releasing anything, but it's fun to press it down, so I'm doing that. And I feel like it helps. So, do that. I have my strainer for my raspberries. Whoa. I'm gonna pour my raspberries in. Oh. Oops. I'm a little clumsy too. And no, this isn't seeming like a great idea. This could very easily go awry. We'll see. There's probably about 1/4 cup of raspberries in here. I don't need a lot. I just want the essence of raspberries in there. If you have raspberry extract, do they even make that? I don't know. Maybe if there's a raspberry extract out there, Maybe you could just add a few drops of that instead of going to all this trouble. I still think it's pretty though. Okay, here's what I'm doing. Pouring it in. Oh, look at that. It's kind of working. Oh, it smells really good. Now, if you're using honey to sweeten your tea, you want to do that while it's still hot because honey will not mix well into anything if what you are making is cold. So just keep that in mind, I guess. Man, I still feel like I don't have enough raspberry flavor in there. What can I do with this? I have like a little tea basket thing. Maybe I'll put some of the raspberries in there and just let it steep in there with the basil. We'll see. We'll see if I can find it. Guess what? I found it. And it's a lot smaller than I remember. I thought I had a bigger one of these. Maybe this will be enough. Y'all, I'm telling you, I'm making this up on the fly. Like, I've made raspberry and basil tea before, and every time my recipe varies just a little bit because, again, scatterbrained, and recipes are just a suggestion. Okay. Do you see how graceful that was? So graceful. It wasn't. It wasn't. Man, I really hope people I know aren't watching this. But if you are, it's okay. You already know I'm like this. So maybe I just want the people I know to watch this. Whatever. Whatever. I'm just glad you're watching. And probably a little embarrassed. But I'm human. Why am I still talking? Okay. I picked a tomato today, and it was very exciting. A slicer tomato. I've had handfuls of the cherry tomatoes. And I think I've mentioned this before, but I have a huge issue with deer around here, and oh dear. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. They're really bad, and they get into everything. They're really, really rude deer, and they eat everything. And so they ate like all of my slicer tomato plants, and they just never came back, really. I mean, they did, but they never really had time to set blooms because the heat got too much, and all the blossoms are falling off, and nothing really formed. So I only got a few slicer tomatoes this year, which is totally fine. I still learned a lot. I relearned that deer are a huge issue. I've had little gardens before in the past, and even last fall. That's when I really kind of got back into. I'm probably adding about 2 teaspoons of Truvia to this whole pitcher. I don't think it needs a lot of help. I think it's already decently sweet by itself. So I really don't think it needs a whole lot. Just keep in mind things like Truvia and stevia. A little bit goes a long way. So you kind of want to taste as you go. Anyways, what I was talking about. The deer. They're super bad. I just told you that. Yep. And so I figured out that mosquito netting is really helpful to keep them away. But I learned that a little late, and so I didn't get a very good tomato harvest this year, which is fine because I learned a lot. But I got a tomato today, and it was really good. It was my first time trying it. It was the Dr. Witchy's or Dr. Wishy's yellow tomato. Very tasty. The yellow tomatoes are supposed to be sweeter than the red ones. I still think it had a little tanginess to it, but it was sweet, and it was really tasty. And it was very cat-faced. If you don't know what cat-facing is, it's when multiple blooms on a tomato plant fuse together and make a really wonky or special-looking tomato. And the problem with that can be, I mean, I think they can look really cool, actually. But the problem can be there's usually, little crevices that creatures can get in, and then you have a buggy tomato, which is no fun. Thankfully, even though mine was cat-faced, I saw no bugs, and if I ate any, what I don't know probably won't hurt me, so it's fine. It was very tasty. So in one of the videos I did today, and I ended up deleting, I tasted it, and it was really exciting. And my face did like this whole thing. It was so good. So I just recreated my reaction for you, because I deleted the video and forgot to save the reaction. Again, not very tech savvy, and scatterbrained, so those make for 2 really great things. and it's fine. But basil tea. It's basil, hot water. I add raspberry because I love it, and some Truvia. If you're gonna add honey, make sure you add it while it's hot. Let this steep as long as you can. The longer you let it steep, the stronger the basil flavor. And then I love this iced. I don't drink this tea hot. I like it with lots of ice. It's very tasty. And but I'm also from the South, and everyone has their tea iced, and it's really good. So this is my version of sweet. It's sweet tea. It's not really, but it's sweet and it's tea. So to me, it's sweet tea, and I'm trying to be a little more careful about sugar because I kind of go overboard. I'm one of those people where if I do something, I usually go hard at it. So like if I am binging on junk food, I really go at it. And if I'm trying to be healthy, I think I really go at it. So right now I'm trying to be healthy and I'm trying to really go at it. That in between though of like getting out of that old habit is really hard. So I'm making lots of sweet drinks and it's really helpful. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I'm a little all over the place and I appreciate you for watching anyways and sticking with me. So basil tea, I hope you try it. It's thebomb.com. And don't forget to take your leaves out because nobody wants a leafy tea. So let it strain as long as you can though because the flavor is going to be amazing. Strain, steep. The word is steep. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Bye.